Hi, I'm David Branch. I'm an entrepreneur and I also help entrepreneurs and business owners just like you learn to build better businesses so that you can create a better life. Now I've got a question for you. Why did you step out and start your own business? Why did you take such a risk? Usually when I ask that question, people respond with, well, I wanted to be my own boss so that I could earn more money and make my own schedule. That's fair. But I believe it's bigger than that. So everything we do stems from somewhere inside of us, our core, right? Somewhere inside of us, something drives us. So let's figure out what that is. We all want to pursue our dreams. All of us. From the time we were a kid, we had something we wanted to do, something we wanted to become. As we grew older, the dream changed a little bit maybe. And we also realized that our dreams were not going to come to us, but that we had to work hard to go get those dreams. Second thing, we want to discover our mission. Now, most of us don't phrase it like that, but basically you want to know that your life matters and you're making a difference. See, I believe that we are all placed right here, right now, at this moment in time, to make an impact in the world around us. We all have unique skills, talents, and experiences to fulfill that. And we want to know what we can do. What is it that we're called to do to make that difference so that we know that our life truly matters. And the next thing, we want to live our lives fully alive. Here's what I mean. We want to know that when we get to the end of our life, we have no regrets. So that's where it kind of picked up for me. When I was a kid, I wanted to be my granddaddy. Wonderful man. Well known in his community, in his church. He was married for 72 years. He had his own business. He could fix anything. And I always wanted to be him. I remember when he was 86, we would go hunting and fishing. And I remember him jumping creeks with me and stuff in the woods. Crazy. But in his last few weeks of life, I had this wonderful opportunity to go up and sit with him and talk to him. And he just started telling me stories. And at one point, he started telling me about how on the outside everything looked great and he did have a really, really good life and he enjoyed life. But that he was laying there in his hospital bed and that he had regrets. And he said that it was too late for him to go back and fix it. He said his biggest regret was he was everything to everybody and he never really had a good relationship with his kids. It wasn't anything bad. He just wasn't present in their life when they were little. And he was laying there with tears in his eyes. And I knew when I left the hospital that night that if I didn't change my perspective, if I didn't change the way I was living, that I really would end my life just like his. I really would be like him. And I refused to lay there in my deathbed and look back over my life with regrets. So I knew I had to make a change that minute. This is what we want. This is what we all want. But we need something. The first thing we need is freedom. We need the freedom. We need time to pursue our dreams. Sometimes we need the freedom to even realize what those dreams are. Life gets hectic. And sometimes we even lose sight of our own dreams. As far as discovering our mission, most of us are just surviving the day-to-day and never take time to really figure this out. And it just eats at us because we know we want to figure it out. And we want to live our life fully alive. We want to be intentional with our children, with our spouses, with whatever it is. And that's the key ingredient, freedom. We all need time, but life happens. So, we decide that in order to get more freedom, freedom's not free, we need Money. We need the money that it takes to support the freedom. Now, a lot of us think we want more money. We think we want more money, but think about this. If I locked you in this room and I threw $1 million of cash in your lap, but I told you couldn't leave, would you want that money? No, you wouldn't. What you want is what that money can give you, the things, but you want the freedom that money gives you. That's what you really need, because you want this, right? This is why we began our business right here. We needed freedom to get what we want, and we needed the money that it takes to support it. That simple. But somewhere along the way, after we started our business, we got trapped by it. Now, I did. When I first started my first business, I was 18 years old. I didn't have a clue how to run a business. Heck, I started a construction company, and I never even built anything. So I didn't even know what I was doing. But I was entrepreneurial, and so I was willing to, sell. I was willing to just tell people I could do it and figure it out later. And that's what I did. But along the way, it caught up with me. And this business that I had created for more money and more freedom had become this beast that had consumed my life. And I remember several years into it, actually it was in 2010, I remember sitting at my desk, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and this lady from the Internal Revenue Service walks in, and she flips her badge out and introduces herself as an agent, something. She was there to collect delinquent payroll taxes. You see, I owed a lot of money that I didn't have. And the fear and the embarrassment I felt in that moment drove me to make a change. See, I had been running sloppy business. I was working like crazy all the time. I mean, and I wasn't behind on my payroll taxes because I was a scumbag that don't pay. It's not that. But I was always robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Okay? I was always waiting on the job to pay over here, and then when that money come in, I would just pay, whatever bills I had money to pay with that week. And there was a time where our business was really slow, and it lasted for several months. And at that time, I was still making payroll because I didn't want to let people go. Because if I had to let them go, then I would have felt like I failed. And I was like, man, they need me and they need a job. And so I kept paying them, but I couldn't pay the payroll taxes. But I always thought, well, next week, when I get that draw, I'll pay the taxes. But next week I didn't get the draw, or maybe it wasn't big enough, or maybe a customer just didn't pay all their bill or whatever it was, and I was always short. And I had to pay my guys or they wouldn't show up. I had to pay my subs or they wouldn't show up. I had to pay my suppliers or they wouldn't give me supplies to do the next job. And so I just like, well, the IRS are not standing here, so I'll just pay them as soon as I can. And it caught up with me. And that was a horrible moment. But the great thing about it was it drove me to make a change. And I drove a stake in the ground that day. And I was like, you know what? I will never, ever be at this point again. I had about $500,000 in debt at the time. And it was just consuming my life. It was destroying my marriage. I mean, at this time, I'd only been married for about a year or so. And the first year of marriage for me was terrible anyway. And you add to that financial strains and stresses and the pressures of running a business, and it was horrible on my marriage. But I knew I had to make a change. I didn't know what to do, so I just started reading a lot of books and things like this, and I attended one of Dave Ramsey's seminars. And this was a big event, and we had an opening dinner ceremony. And after that dinner ceremony, we had the opportunity to go up and meet Dave and his wife. And so we did, and I went up and I spoke to Dave, and my wife stepped over and spoke to his wife. And as we were talking, I was like, I was telling him about my problems with my company and my finances and with my guys. And then I started telling him about problems with my marriage. You see, I felt like that things looked like he had a pretty good marriage on the outside. It looked like he knew how to handle his wife, had her under control. And me and my wife were always fighting like this. And I was like, how do I get her to understand what it's like to be a business owner? I mean, what can I tell her? And I expected him to kind of buddy up with me, but he didn't. Instead, he was like, the problem with your business and your marriage is you. He's like, you're not going to be able to lead your business to success if you can't lead your marriage to success. And if you want to fix this, you got to start with fixing you. Man, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted him to kind of give me some type of tips or at least buddy up with me and say, hey man, I understand, or whatever. But he didn't. He called me out. And he told me that I was the problem with basically everything in my life. But he also said, he's like, but if the problem is you, the solution is you too. And you can fix it. You just got to grow yourself. And so that's what I did. I started reading like crazy. I started attending seminars as often as I could. I got a counselor to to help me kind of fix my head and to work on my marriage. And I hired a business coach to help me gain perspective in my business and with my business finances and things like that. And by being very intentional with this, things slowly started to turn around. I mean, it took a little while, but as I got new systems in place and started growing as a leader and understood, what my position was, things really changed. In less than 5 years, we had paid off all that debt. One of our companies had over a 2,000% increase in net profits. Life got so much better. My marriage went from being just this horrible marriage, just dangling by a thread, to now being life-giving. And understand this, I still had the same business in the same town with the same customer base, and we didn't increase our prices. I just changed my leadership and everything from there. Now I want to teach you how to do that. There are 4 components to having a successful business. The first one is you, the leadership. Everything rises and falls based upon the leader. If the leader is healthy, then the organization can be healthy. If the leader, or simply the perspective of the leader, is unhealthy, then the organization will be unhealthy as well. So it starts with you fixing yourself. You've got to change your perspective. Now, our perspective is simply how we see things, our point of view. And it's built upon everything that we've learned throughout our life, the experiences that we've had, what we've read, what we've watched, what we've listened to. But if we're going to have a successful business, we've got to learn to be a successful leader. Okay, now, in my first 15 years of business, I didn't play the role of a leader. Being a leader wasn't even on my map. It was not something that I was ever accused of being in any kind of way. I wasn't reading, so leadership wasn't really something that was in my vocabulary even. I was a boss. I hired people. I told them what to do. I told them when to go home, and then I paid them. That's it. There was no vision. There was no nothing like this. It was just work for me, and I'll pay you for it. That's it. And I was horrible. And I was a micromanager. Okay, I managed every person, every detail of every job. No matter what went on, I knew about it. And I hated it. I hated life. I hated the business that I had built. See, I was in the wrong position. As a leader, typically, especially if you're an entrepreneur, then you're a big picture person. You're a visionary, okay? You're a coach. You shouldn't be a manager. You're not built and wired to manage. Your position is to fly around your fields and look at the big picture of what's going on inside your organization. And it's up to you to make sure that the business is, building the right products and building the right team to accomplish things, and that everybody's in the right places and in the right seats on the bus. If you're micromanaging, you're miserable. I promise you. And everybody that works for you, they're miserable as well. And if you're managing when you should be a big picture person, when you should use your gift that God has given you to be a big picture visionary, if you're not using that, then you are strangling your own success. See, you wouldn't hire somebody that is a good framer, right, to do your bookwork. You wouldn't hire a carpenter to do your bookkeeping. Well, why would you take yourself, the key person on the whole team, and place yourself in the wrong position? Why would you do that? That's a terrible use of talent. You're the leader. Understand, you're the coach. You're the visionary. Get out of the management seat. I attended a Tony Robbins event several years ago, and at one point in time he said that operators get tired, but that owners get rich. I'd never heard that. I'd never really thought of the difference between being an operator and an owner. I mean, I've always even heard the term, owner-operator, right? And that's what I was. I kind of owned the business, but really it owned me. I operated the business. The business could not live without me. If I were not there, things just fell apart. It was too dependent on me being there. I was an operator. But understand, you are supposed to be the owner. And when you get there and you position yourself there, everything changes. Everything. Now, the second major component for you to have a successful business your team. Your team is your lifeline, because without them, you doing everything. If you're doing everything, you don't have any freedom. And if you're doing everything, you can't really scale that. You can only do so much. And so you're not making the money that you could make. But your team is vital. Having the right people, the right people in the right places, it's awesome. Several years back, Tom Landry, the old coach of the Dallas Cowboys, said that you can have a winning team. It takes winning players to have a winning team, but you can also lose with winning players. Wow. Yeah, you're right. Well, when I first started my business, I didn't even have winning players. Okay, so no wonder that I didn't have a winning team, but they didn't have a winning coach either, so that was part of it, right? But you've got to hire winners, because you cannot win without a winning team. But winners, winning team players, will not follow a bad coach. They won't do it. They know they can achieve more under a great coach. So it's up to you, okay? But to build a great team, you have to be very intentional, but you have to understand what a great team looks like. You've got to decide this. Now, I'm going to be sending you 4 videos. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to build a dynamic team. One that will allow you to have the freedom. Now, the third component to having a successful business is your product. Your product or your service. Now, without your product, you have no sale. Without a sale, you have no money, all right? Now, most of us, as leaders, we started off usually as the technician. We knew how to build that thing or how to do that service. And so usually when we first start a business, or even years into it, we are very heavily involved in the creation or the delivery of the product or the service. because we are usually really good at it. That's why we started. We knew we were a good painter or a good electrician or a good plumber, and we decided we'd go into business of our own. But if you're producing the product, then you can't do your number one position, what you're called to do, be the leader, fly over your fields, because you're too narrowly focused on the day-to-day operation. But you probably micromanage everything, and you don't think anybody can get anything done as good as you. At least that's how I felt for years, because I didn't have a good team. But when you learn how to hire a dynamic team and you create a system of continuous improvement, and you hire the right people, you hire the people with the right character, then you no longer are needed in the production of the product or the delivery of the service. For me, now if I get involved in the product, sometimes I just screw stuff up because I want to jump back in and manage everything. You know, everything to be just perfect. Allowing a dynamic team to produce your product does not compromise the quality. They can produce a product of wow. They can wow your customers. They can create raving fans if you have the right team and have a system of continuous improvement. Now, when you become the leader that you were created to be, when you build the right team, they deliver a wow product or a wow service, then you get the fourth major component to having a successful business. You get profits. Actually, when you have a system in place that runs properly, profits become almost automatic. Profits is where you get your money to fund your freedom, to give you what you want. Profits are necessary to keep your business afloat, obviously. But think about it like this. If you, the leader, want this, don't you believe your team wants it as well? But your team is never going to get money and freedom from your business if you don't have substantial profits. So, throughout the course of what I'm going to teach you, I'm going to teach you how to earn better profits, share them, and incentivize your team with them so that they can get this and this. If you want to have a team that is loyal to you, pay them on their ability to impact the bottom line, not by the hour, and not a straight salary. You don't want to do that. See, when you pay somebody by the hour, you and he are on opposing teams, because you, the business owner, you've got to get things done quicker to make more money. But the only way that he can make more money is for the job to take longer. Y'all are not on a team. You're opponents. If you pay him a straight salary, you're like, I'll give you this much money. And if he drops his performance, he doesn't get less. If he increases his performance, he doesn't get more. And hopefully somewhere down the line, maybe at the end of the year, if it's been a good year, you might give him a 3% raise. Terrible. That demoralizes people. They have no incentive to drive and to do more, to earn you more money, because they're not winning by the same measures you are. And when they take more time, it doesn't matter to them. If it costs the company more money, it doesn't matter to them, because they're not losing by the same measures that you are. So if you want to have great profits, the leadership and the employees have to become a unified team, winning and losing by the same measures. Now, depending on where you are in your business, you may be saying, hey man, I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff, man. I don't want to give more money to these people. You're not going to give more money to them. You're going to allow them the opportunity to earn more. Well, you don't understand my guys, man. They're not going to understand that system. Well, I understand that. When I implemented this system, I basically had to fire everybody over time. I had about 25 people, and a lot of them couldn't catch on to the system. A lot of them were not built or didn't have the mindset or even the drive to help me succeed and earn more profits. See, not everybody's motivated by money. Not everybody understands how to tie money to the bigger picture. So we're not talking about money being a driver, like being greedy. We're understanding, having a healthy understanding that money is necessary to fund your freedom to do this. It's necessary. So I'm going to send you 4 free videos. Now there's a form on this video that you're getting, and you need to put in your email and your name. It doesn't cost you anything. And I'm going to start dripping you these videos. The information that you're going to get out of these videos has the power to completely change things in your business. My goal is to teach you how to become a better leader, teach you how to structure your business so that it gives you peace of mind, not stress. And I want you to learn how to earn more money in less time. More money in less time gives you freedom to do this. Everything we do, every video you're going to get, I always point it back to the big picture. We never can lose sight of what we're really doing this for. So I hope that the information I've given you today has served you well. Now I look forward to seeing you in the next video. So fill out that information, because honestly, this stuff can be life changing. Now until I see you in the next video, pursue your dreams. You know, maybe you need to think back on what your dreams really are. I mean, why did you really start your business? What is it that you really, really want? Now I want you to discover your mission. Figure out what it is that you're called to do. And I want you to start living intentional, because I want you to live every single moment fully alive, so that when you get to the end, you have no regrets. I'll see you in the next video.